Hello, and welcome to day three, yes, Wednesday, of DEI week. Man, we have had some wonderful speakers and really talked about some impactful things going on in our industry and with DEI, but more importantly, about you, the people that are tuning in and hearing us speak. So, without further ado, let me get into a small housekeeping item. So on the screen, you will see NAA's antitrust, compliance, and legal disclaimer, along with our content disclaimer. If you've joined us before, you know all about this. With this statement, it is on NAA's website. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us here at NAA, and we will be more than happy to talk to you about our antitrust compliance. Disclaimer, also with our legal disclaimer, everything that you hear and see today is for educational purposes and is not legal counsel. We recommend that if you have any questions regarding legal things, please reach out to your legal counsel. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about today's speaker. And you know what? She needs no introduction. She has been on NEA stages. She has been on your affiliate stages. She has come to you bringing her unique journey through our industry and her personal experience with imposter syndrome. If you missed it at a Parmentalize this year, you really missed something. But you know what? You're here today and you are going to hear from her how you can absolutely overcome those feelings. So, without further ado, let me please welcome Ty Jackson to the stage.
Hello, everybody. Tiana, thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Of course, you know that I'm always excited, but I am super excited to be here today for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Week and to be the hump day girl to kick it off and continue the conversations that we've been experiencing all week. I'm amazed to be here and thank you guys for joining me from all over the nation. I'm super excited to get started today. All right, Tiana. So Tiana's going to get my PowerPoint going for me and we're going to get started.
Can everyone see my screen?
We can, but not the full screen. It's still showing.
I am so sorry. I'm having a small technical difficulty.
Well, that's okay. We're all property management people, so we definitely understand when things just pop up on us.
I Okay. Let's go ahead and can we do it from here? Is this okay?
Yes, ma'am. We can definitely do it from there.
Okay.
All right. So if you want to go back just to the beginning of the screen. All right, guys. Thank you so much again for joining me. I am Ty Jackson. Today, we're going to continue the conversation on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Week by talking about breaking free and overcoming imposter syndrome. It is my sincere and greatest prayer and hope that by the end of this webinar, you guys feel the chains of imposter syndrome falling off of you. All right, I'm going to give you some strategies today, and we're just going to talk about how imposter syndrome can affect us in leadership. All right, Tiana, it seems like all right. So, the agenda today is the introduction. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about me and how I have experienced imposter syndrome. Then, we're going to talk about understanding imposter syndrome. I visit a lot of affiliates and stood on a lot of stages this year where I ask this question and I say, has anybody in here experienced imposter syndrome? And at the beginning, I might get a few hands, but at the end, I get a lot. So I think it's one of those things sometimes that we experience, guys, and we're just not sure that that's what it's called. So hopefully today we have a aha moment together. We're also going to talk about the impact on leadership. I'm going to give you guys some strategies to overcome. Hopefully, I get some questions and can give you some answers. And then we'll talk about a few key takeaways. So, who is Ty Jackson? For anybody on here that does not know, I am your girl Ty. I've been in the multifamily industry now for over 20 years. I started out as a leasing professional. I've been an assistant manager, a property manager. I had the pleasure of joining the supplier side with Apartment Finder. I worked for apartments.com, RentPath, and for the last 6 years, I've been the executive for the Arkansas Apartment Association. I am grass rooted in the multifamily industry. I'm a leader. I own my own real estate company, guys. I'm a principal broker and owner of a real estate company. And I say all of these things because I want you guys to know that no matter how far you are in your career, no matter how big you've become as a leader, imposter syndrome can still creep in. You would think it's one of those things that happen when you're starting in your career. Like when we're a baby in our career, we expect to feel some imposter syndrome. But I'm going to let you guys in on a secret today. This is something usually that happens when you're at the height of your career. Tiana mentioned before that I've stood on a lot of stages this year and talked about it, but I want to go back to the first stage that I stood on and pay homage to who I stood on this stage with. The first stage that I was able to stand on this year to talk about imposter syndrome was the big stage at Apartmentalize 2024. And I stood on that stage with Dr. Lori Goldman. Dr. Lori, thank you so much for partnering with me to talk about imposter syndrome. Thank you for shining a light on such an amazing subject. And I look forward to submitting with you again for 2025. All right, let's keep it going. So, what is imposter syndrome, you say? You ever felt like a fraud, guys? Have you ever said, even when I've done something great, Ty, I feel like I just got lucky. It just fell in my lap. It just happened to happen to me. Ty, I don't know if I really deserve this. Can I really be the next regional manager at this company? I'm a woman, Ty. Can I be the CFO? Well, I'm a black woman. Do you think I would be good as a supplier? Even though I've been in the industry for 20 years, I said, even though I'm a real estate broker and I'm an owner, I still feel like a fraud sometimes. Why is it? Why do we feel like a fraud even though we've accomplished all of these things? Even though we've been in the multifamily industry, because a lot of us are grass rooted. We didn't just start in this industry. A lot of us, we started out as leasing professionals, and the same trajectory that I gave you guys for my journey, a lot of you guys have experienced the same thing. But yet and still, every time we go to the next height in our career, we stop and we question ourselves. So today we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about some strategies on how to overcome imposter syndrome. When it creeps up in you, when you start feeling like a fraud, we're going to give you some strategies on how to push that away. All right? All right, so let's keep going. Next slide. So there's many facets, guys, to imposter syndrome. And we're going to talk about a few of them, okay? I'm going to give you some examples of what you see on the screen. So the first one is the perfectionist. So an example of a perfectionist. Sarah is a high performing property manager who always sets incredibly high standards for herself. Even when she successfully closes a complex deal or receives praises from her team, she focuses on minor imperfections and feels like she could have done better. She often feels like a failure if things aren't 100% perfect, leading to overworking and stress. Now, I won't ask you guys by show of hands how many of you guys are perfectionists on on this call, but a lot of us are, and we want things to be perfect. But I'm here to tell you, we're in the multifamily industry. It's never going to be perfect. And it's going to lead to burnout. It's going to lead to you being stressed out. And stressed out could potentially lead to you having a margarita every day for happy hour after work. And those sugar and those calories are going to lead to bad health. See, it goes on and on. So this is super serious business. So the next one is Superwoman or Superman. How many of you guys have put your cape on every day? So, an example of this facet, James is a regional property supervisor who feels like he must excel in every area of his job. He stays late at work, answers emails during the weekend, and consistently juggles multiple responsibilities. Despite his accomplishments, he believes he truly hasn't earned his position, and he's always worried that his colleagues might discover that he's not as competent as they think. This just resonates with property management because I came from being a property manager and I've been at distressed properties. I was the first person to get to work thinking that if I got here at 6 in the morning, I could beat everybody in and give those extra hours and I could be working. And if I stayed late, if I answered the phone on the weekends, if I was just available around the clock, I would do it. It didn't lead to anything, guys, but burnout and more stress. When we do that, it hurts us. And when we do it to our teams, we burn them out and then they silently leave us. All right, let's keep going. The natural genius. So, Maria has always been a high achiever and is used to grasping concepts quickly and easily. Now, a senior leasing director, she feels intense pressure to continue mastering everything immediately. When faced with a new challenge, she requires more time and effort. Maria feels like she's a fraud, thinking that struggling to learn means that she's not truly capable. So we talked about the perfectionist, the superwoman and the superman, and now the natural genius, the person who everything has come so naturally to that now when it doesn't come naturally, they feel like a fraud. You can't feel like that, and you have to give yourself grace because we're learning new things. And our industry, thank God, is one that is so forward and ever evolving that we're hit with new things every single day. Give yourself grace, is what I'm going to say to the genius. Now, we have the soloist. Anthony is a successful maintenance supervisor who prides himself on independence. He believes that asking for help is a sign of weakness and thinks that he must figure everything out on his own. Even when he's overburdened, he refuses to delegate, fearing others might see him as incapable if he can't do it all by himself. The word is multi-family. Family is huge in our industry, and it's because we are family. Teamwork is huge in our industry because that's what it requires to be effective in the day to day operations in the multifamily industry. You cannot do it alone. I think one of the hardest things for us to do as leaders sometimes is to delegate. It's hard to give up that work because you know what? I know that if I do it, it's going to get done and it's going to get done right. But when we don't delegate, guys, once again, it leads to burnout. And you can't grow your team if you're not trusting them with the responsibilities. Last but not least, on the facets, we have the expert. Rachel is a property investment consultant who feels that she must have a deep understanding of every single detail before she can consider herself competent. Even though she's an experienced professional, she consistently pursues new certifications and feels unqualified unless she's fully mastered a topic. She's reluctant to speak up in meetings unless she's absolutely certain she has all the information. I have friends in this industry that I would say fit into the expert role, that they feel like they have to continue to seek knowledge and training just even before they can speak up. Now, I'm huge on continuing knowledge and training because that's why we're here today, but not to the point where you're scared to say something if you're not an expert. We are all continuously growing in the multifamily industry and every other facet of our life. You don't have to be an expert before you speak up. Not being a perfectionist, not being the superwoman and the superman, the natural genius, the soloist, or the expert sometimes can lead to imposter syndrome. When you have imposter syndrome and you're feeling like a fraud, you hold on to these things. Let it go and share the work. Let's stop creating more anxiety on us because this is already a job that's filled with a lot of anxiety because we deal with people that are already our residents and the occupants and people that's coming in. They're already suffering from anxiety because moving is one of the top 10 most stressful things that you can do. Nobody wakes up and say, you know what? It's October the 23rd. It feels great outside. Ty, I'm moving today. No, a life changing event happens that requires somebody to move. So they're already stressed out when they come see us. We don't need to be stressed out too, do we? All right, so let's continue to talk about it. Next slide, please. So let's talk about the fragile nature of leadership when it comes to imposter syndrome. The pressure to perform at high levels. When that pressure is on you every single day as a property manager, leasing professional, regional, maintenance guy, assistant manager, supplier, how can you just enjoy your job when there's a constant to prove yourself? And I'm going to tell you, this falls into diversity, equity, and inclusion week in so many different ways because being a diverse woman in leadership, I've always had that pressure to perform at a high level. And you never stop and realize the great things that you've done or accomplished. And you don't stop and do those things because you're always trying to get to the next mark and you're always trying to prove yourself. And I can't speak for everybody out there, guys, but I'm going to tell you, as a African American woman, this has been something that I have suffered with for so long. And it wasn't until recently where I was on the phone with, it was a recruiter. Arkansas knows me. Don't be trying to tell on me. They know I'm not looking to leave them, but I'm always open to a conversation. And I think talking to recruiters sometimes can help you grow. So this was a recruiter for a larger association, and he challenged me to write down my accomplishments. And I'm going to tell you guys, I went all the way back to being a property manager, and I was pulling out awards from working at the land company, meeting my NOI, Rookie of the Year, Apartment Finder. I pulled out awards from when I had served on the board when I was a member at the Arkansas Apartment Association. And I was wowed by these awards, but I was saddened too because I had never stopped and really relished in excitement in those awards because I had the pressure to perform. And I was always trying to prove myself and get to the next level. So, one of the other fragile natures of leadership that it can cause is balancing diverse teams and high expectations. You can also have the fear of being exposed as not enough. And that goes back to diversity, equity, and inclusion and trying to steady prove yourself because you're always thinking that you're not enough. Even when your closing ratio is amazing as a leasing professional, you still think that you're not enough. Even when you're collecting all the rents out there, assistant manager, you still question yourself and whether you're ready to go to the next level. As a property manager, you're staying under budget, the occupancy is high, everybody on the team is happy. But when the regional comes to you and talk about the next position and they're promoting from within, you start to question yourself. Or you're a woman and there's the CFO position and somebody comes to you and say, "Hey, Dr. Lori, I think you would be amazing for this position." You start to think, "Who, me? I would be amazing for this position?" Because this is what happens, guys. And diversity, equity, and inclusion is so great when it comes to imposter syndrome because a lot of the times you're the only person in the room who looks like you. You're the only woman of color. You're the only woman. You're the only man of color. You're the only person that speaks your language. You're the only person in there that doesn't have a master's degree. Because there's so many things. I want to be clear and let everybody on this call know that DE&I is not a black and white thing. You hear me punching my fist when I say it's not a black and white thing, guys. There's so many layers to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay, race is only a minor factor in it, but there's so many other things. All right, let's keep going. So let's talk about the influence on leadership when it comes to imposter syndrome. So when it comes to decision making, fear of failure and risk of aversion. Sometimes it is cool to play it safe, but sometimes you got to take a risk in order to win big. But if you're scared to make a decision, if you worked with me, I see my girl Dana Duckworth on here. Shout out to the big speaker. Dana knows. I like my people when you're on my team. I want you to make a decision. But guess what? I empower you to do so. If you don't empower your team, and that's by delegating work to them, by trusting them to do the work, by being transparent, by leading by example, how will they be able to make decisions? And they're sitting there all day, paralyzed in fear, not making decisions for you, not growing the asset. And then guess what happens at the end? We turn around and we let these people go because they did not rise to the occasion. That's not fair. So let's talk about team dynamics, lack of delegation and trust. We just talked about that. When you don't delegate, and you don't trust your team, what happens? Fear of failure and risk of aversion. They won't make a decision for you. You have to delegate. And to be honest with you, now that I have this delegating thing down pat, I like it. I like passing the work off. Okay, maybe that came off. That didn't come off right. I don't like passing the work off, but I like empowering people and then watching them grow. It gives me such pleasure to watch the people on my team grow and watch the light come on in them. If you are a true leader, it should not give you the most pleasure to do the work. Come on, we got to get past doing the work. It gives us the pleasure when we pass the work and we empower our teams to make decisions and to do the work. All right. So, burnout, overworking to prove your worth. If it wasn't gonna cut my head off, I would stand up because that's a stand up moment. If you're at your desk, that was a stand up moment. You know when you're in church and they tell you that's a shout moment, that was a stand up moment right there. I'm gonna say that again. Burnout, overworking to prove your worth. Diverse people, underrepresented people, we got to stop. It's time to stop proving. I'm not. I'm gonna lean into the camera when I say this because there's 88 people on this call, and some of you could be potential clients for me in the future. But I'm gonna lean in and let you know something about Ty Jackson today. I am no longer proving my worth to anybody. If you cannot see my value, you are not my client. And that's okay. I still like you and I still will party with you and jump up and down to this is how we do it at Apartmentalize. And we will have cocktails and we will celebrate our accomplishments. But I am no longer at 43 years old in a position to prove myself to anyone. It does lead to burnout. And I have a family. Hopefully, you guys saw the wedding pictures. My son just got married. If I am burnt out, I am no good for anybody. So I no longer work to prove myself, and hopefully, you as leaders will no longer require your teams to prove themselves. Now, yes, proving yourself in the work and the KPIs and measuring the performance, yes, we should be doing that. But making people continue to prove themselves to get jobs that they should have gotten a long time ago based on what they look like, what they sound like, or where they came from, we can no longer do that. All right, next slide. So we're going to reframe our inner dialogue, guys. I'm going to tell you how to take a negative to a positive. So when I say negative, I mean saying something like, I don't know what I'm doing. Marcy, Megan, Katie, Tammy, Shay, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't. But instead of me saying, I don't know what I'm doing, if you know me, you know I'm going to say, I'm still learning and growing. Ty, you made a mistake on your report. I'm still learning and growing. Ty, I'm going to show you how to redo this. I'm still learning and growing. Ty, you misspelled a word on your last slide when you did a keynote. I'm still learning and growing. We're still learning and growing. And it goes back to the word grace. You got to give yourself grace, people. It's not that I don't know what I'm doing. Each and every person on this call today, you do know what you're doing. If you did not know what you were doing, you would not be where you are today. So we're going to put that to rest right now about I don't know what I'm doing, because we know what we're doing. And I certainly know what I'm doing. But there's going to be times where I make a mistake. There's going to be times when I don't get it right. And when those times come that I don't get it right, guess what? I'm still learning and I'm still growing. And I'm going to flick my hair on that one. That was for you, Todd. Todd Hignite. Boom, boom. All right, next slide, Tiana. So let's talk about nurturing transparent dialogue, because we're talking about teams here. Be transparent about challenges as leaders. I know as leaders, we always want to seem to our teams polished. We want to seem like we get it right and we got it right every single time. We didn't make no mistakes when we were leasing, when we were the assistant manager, when we were the property manager. Everything was great. But we know that that's not true. Be transparent about the challenges that you've had as a leader when you're talking to your team. Because when we meet people exactly where they are, they feel more comfortable having a conversation with us. When I can say, guess what? Yeah, I talked to that recruiter, that association, they did seek me. And no, they did not hire me. And later on, I'll tell you guys who that was. But you know what? I'm still great. And I still learned through that. And I'm still open to say that to somebody who has the same experience so they won't feel like a fraud. And sometimes I feel like that was just an experience that God made me experience, because right before I stood on that stage with Dr. Lori at Apartmentalize to talk about imposter syndrome, I had to experience it. I had been in the industry for 20 years at this point. And for 2 weeks, I was doubting myself, guys. I was. I felt like a fraud. I was questioning myself about, am I the person? Am I strong enough? Do I have enough education? Will they want me? It's never been a Black woman in this role. Am I going to be the first? Can I be the first? All of that I experience when I'm talking to someone who has experienced the same thing, I'm transparent about those challenges. Build a culture of trust. When you're transparent, trust follows. When you're open with people, when you tell people things about you that does not maybe shine the best light on you to some people, it brings and it builds a culture of trust with them. Encourage vulnerability in your team. Be vulnerable, be open. Regional manager, tell your property manager about a time when you wasn't so great. Maybe a time that you didn't grow the asset. Maybe there was a time that new management came in, and that was the one day that you forgot to shop. I mean, that you forgot to follow up, and your property got shot by the new owner. And we all know that that can happen. It just happened here in Arkansas. Teams are let go because of things like that. And sometimes it's just that one day as a property person that you had an off day and you were the person that it happened to. But if you're transparent about that on your role in leadership, you too can build a culture of trust with your team. All right, let's keep going. So remember, guys, that success is a journey, not a destination. And I like this, and I wanted to put this on here because when we think about success, we think about the finish line. We think about the light at the end of the tunnel. We don't think about the journey that it took to get there. When I am my greatest self, when I've reached the job that I'm supposed to have, when I'm running one of the largest associations, because see, I'm all about manifestation. So we're going to speak it today. When I am heading one of the largest associations in the National Apartment Association, it's going to be the things that happened to me that made me resilient. It's going to be the things that happened to build me up to be the best leader. It's not going to be the ultimate prize of, I made it, I got it. It's going to be the stories that I'm able to share about what it took to get there. So it's the journey. So on those days when there's floods on the properties, when the hurricanes have came, when the tornadoes have torn the roofs off, those are the things that are building you up. That's the journey in it. In your leadership and your success, it's going to be when you become the CFO, it's going to be what happened when you were regional, when Hurricane Helen came through and you were able to rally your team in spite of. You were able to get help for the residents in spite of. Those are the things that's going to make you the best leader possible. It's not going to be about what you look like, whether you're a man, woman, black, or white, whether you came from another country with a different nationality, whether you were transgender, whether you were from the LGBTQ community. None of that stuff is going to matter in the journey. All right, next slide. So, one of the things that you want to focus on with imposter syndrome and DEI is to build a supportive network. Seek mentors and coaches. Now, I'm a lucky girl. I have had the pleasure of working with Coach Melissa D. White. Meeting Coach Mel was amazing for my career. A lot of you guys know Melissa D. White. If you don't, she is on LinkedIn. Look her up. Came into my life as a coach, and I'm going to tell you guys, really helped me coach my business because I think a lot of us in the multifamily industry, we have a lot of stuff going on. I'm a self-proclaimed person with ADHD. I call it the shiny squirrel syndrome. A lot of you probably have experienced this from time to time. We do a lot of stuff. And sometimes you have to have somebody to help you bring all those things in to make it make sense. Now, this is going to be my personal advice to you. Never let anybody put you in the box to just do one of those things. Get you a coach or a mentor to help you do all of those things, but to make it make sense for you. So, mentors and coaches are different. A mentor could be somebody that's doing the things that you're doing. First time I met Marcy French, she was standing on stage. I said, "Hey, I want you to be my mentor." Alex Jack, you. I mean, I have some mentors and I have more than one mentor. Josh Gold. It just depends on what I'm wanting to do in our industry. So find you some like-minded people who are going in the direction that you are going in. Now, if they are not going in that direction, get out the car. That is not your person. But if you're striving to be a regional manager and you're a property manager and Shay is doing an amazing job, Portia Grant is doing an amazing job, get in the car with Portia and say, "Hey, will you be my mentor?" Some people are just waiting to be asked, okay? And If that doesn't work, get you a coach. Engage in peer support. Now, this is an important one. Get you some supportive friends, get you some supportive peers in this industry. If you do not have any, call me. Hit me up on LinkedIn, send me a message. I will be there to be your rah rah girl. Now, again, I am a fortunate girl in our industry because I have a support of women who rah rah and who support me. Ashia Shepherd, Dana Duckworth, Marcy French, Dr. Lori, Kara House, Christine Munda, Crystal Dukes. I have a village of people, and I'm telling you guys, when I call them, when I get on my imposter syndrome soapbox about I don't think I'm good enough, they didn't want me, I don't have a degree yet. I have friends that, Ty, I'm going to let you get down on yourself from 10 o'clock to 10:01. No, you don't have a degree, but you did 20 years in the multifamily industry. You are the executive over an entire state that you run by yourself. You own a real estate company that you're the principal broker of. And I have a closing today. Whoop, whoop. You have your own speaking business where alone in 2024, you've stood on over 20 stages. Now, what were you saying again about not having your degree? You got to get you some rah rah girls. You got to get you some friends, some peers that bring it back into perspective for you. You have to have some friends that are taking notes on all your accomplishments when you are steady trying to prove yourself. See, we steady trying to prove ourselves, but some of your friends are sitting back there and they taking notes. They like, well, you know what? Portia did this. Dr. Lori did this. Dana, you accomplished this. You got a whole podcast out there. Like, you are amazing. We have to have a group of people that support us. Lean in on your network. Your network might not be your friends, but a network of people who support you. When I need to get something done, there's people that I can call on that are in my network, and I know that they are going to help me. They are going to make sure that I get this stuff done. So, your supportive network, again, guys, is your mentors and coaches. If you do not have any, remember you can call on Melissa D. White. You can call on Marcy French. Those are some of the coaches that I personally know and have experienced. You can engage in peer support. I talked about Ashia Shepherd, Dana, and my village. They are already taken, but get your own. You can get some. Also, lean on your network of people, guys. Make sure you're leaning on your network, okay? All right, let's continue. We're almost done. Thank you for hanging in with me. So, key takeaways from today's session: recognize and refrain from self doubt. We got to start having these good talks with ourselves. Big yourself up. If anybody know anything about Ty Jackson, I am my number one fan. Now, does that mean I don't experience imposter syndrome? I have those moments, but quickly I turn it around because I remind me of who I really am. Okay. Lean into your leadership strengths. Leadership is not about your role or your title. All can be leaders, whether you are the leasing assistant, property manager, regional, maintenance, supplier, or the owner of the company. We all can lead. There's a strength. I call it a gift. Everybody that knows me, or if I stood on your stage before, or if I ever will stand on your stage, I am a faith based leader. So when I say lean into your leadership strength, I'm saying your gift, because the word of God says that your gift will make room for you. So if you lean into that gift, don't chase money, don't chase popularity, don't chase the likes on LinkedIn. Chase your gift, and all of that will come. Cultivate transparency and trust within your team. We talked about some of the things about delegating, being transparent, being vulnerable. Those are the things that cultivate transparency and trust within your team. And when your team trusts you, when they trust that you have the best intention for their success, they will follow you to no ends. They will get up when the hurricane comes. They will come out when the tornado has came through. They will be there for the resident events. They will come in early for the breakfast on the go. And they will do it all with a great attitude and a smile on their faces. One of the last key takeaways is build and rely on your support network. And we talked about that. Rely on your people. Everybody has to have a team. If you're an entrepreneur on here and you're like, Ty, I don't work on property with nobody, get you a team. I don't care if it's your mother, your sister, your brother. Everybody has to have a team because we were just not built to do it alone. And it's not even orchestrated or structured for us to do it alone. One of the things I think about property management is if you have a team, and I mean a good solid team, and everybody on your team is doing what they're supposed to do. I mean, the leasing agent is leasing. The assistant manager is collecting the rents and she's moving people in and out. Your property manager is paying the bills and she is overseeing the entire property. Your maintenance team is out there turning units and fulfilling the tickets. The property will run like a well oiled machine. So build and rely on your team to support your network. All right, I think we have one last slide. Oh, so this is my thank you. I thought it was my Q&A slide. So before I jump off of here, guys, we have 15 minutes left to we're at the top of the hour. Is there any questions or anything that you guys want to tell me about maybe a time that you have experienced imposter syndrome or something you did to overcome it? And I have the chat open. There's a lot of chats in here too. Well, I'll say what some of the people said. Anne said, great self talk, the great ways to empower our teams who might also be struggling with imposter syndrome. That's right, Anne, because teams can be struggling with this too, guys, not just you as the leader, it might be your team. Jennifer says she will be transparent 110% of the time because they need to realize that this is real life. It's not always pretty, but it's okay because we are all still learning. Kara House says she's just grateful for the session, Ty. Thank you for the live. Kara, you are welcome, honey. You my girl. I miss you. Ann says this was all great advice. And Dr. Lori says good information, Ty. Guys, it always, I love to stand on stage, to sit on stage in my living room, to talk to you guys virtually or in person. This is Monica Ramsey Ago, realizing I could not fill anyone else's shoes, so I needed to bring my own. Yet you have to stand in your own shoes. And comparison is the thief of joy. Be you, because we all have something unique about us that we bring to the table. Monica, I look forward to seeing you guys in Ego soon. Frank says, literally today and the past few weeks have been struggling with imposter syndrome. The timing couldn't have been any better. Frank, we are all here for you and rallying around you. Imposter syndrome is real. When it creeps up, just know that you are worthy of whatever it is that you are seeking and push it down, Frank. Don't let imposter syndrome get the best of you. And if it continues to creep up, call me. I will be your rah-rah girl and let you know all the amazing things about you. The timing couldn't have been better. Thank you. Woo, bring your own shoes. Love that. Yes. If you want to bring this message to your affiliate, to your management company, please reach out to me, guys. I am on LinkedIn under Ty Jackson. I would love to have a conversation with you about how I can form your audience also. And just remember that it doesn't matter who you are or what stage in your career you're in, guys. Imposter syndrome will creep up. We think that this is something that happens at the leasing stage, but it's something that happens at the CFO stage. It's when you get to the biggest stage that you're ever going to stand on that you get nervous. And that's cool, because when we get nervous and we get uncomfortable, that means that growth is on the way. But when it happens, know that despite of whether you're black, white, brown, blue, or yellow, a woman or a man, straight, gay, transgender, whoever you identify as, you are worthy of the success. You are worthy of everything that is in front of you. I hope that this has been an amazing session and someone has went back with something that they're going to be able to use to combat imposter syndrome when it creeps up in them. It is a pleasure to take the stage before you guys. And I hope that I take the stage once again at Apartmentalize for 2025. Charlotte has shared my LinkedIn. Thank you so much, Charlotte. Thank you for being a team player. How can you connect with me, Lily? Charlotte just showed you guys. If there's anything else that you need from me, I'm here. Do not hesitate to reach out. I meant what I said. If you need a rah rah girl, my girls are already taken. Boom. I'm just joking. Not really. You can hit me up. All right, Tiana.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. What an impactful session. I needed to hear it. It sounds like our audience needs to hear it. I couldn't be more moved. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your day with us. Ty, as always, thank you. You are giving, as they say. Thank you so much for joining us. And I hope that you join us again tomorrow for day 4 of DEI week. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Have an amazing day. Thank you, Tiana.
Thank you.